Farquharson with this special COVID-19 show. We are coming to you live from our studio in Freeport, Grand Bahama. Well, topping news, the country is in lockdown. The nation's leader in a national address last night stating that we are all soldiers, warriors in the battle against COVID-19, a war that the country and the world will win. Here in the Bahamas, there are 4 confirmed cases, 4 persons in a quarantine facility, and 38 persons released. Prime Minister Minis announcing a national 24-hour curfew in an effort to protect the health, safety, and well-being of Bahamians. Megan Shepard has more.
The Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, addressing the nation once again to announce emergency powers COVID-19 number 2, Order 2020, that will govern the Bahamas from 9 a.m. March 24th through Tuesday, March 31st, 9 a.m. The nation's leader noting that Bahamians are not taking the global pandemic seriously, nor have they taken the orders in the first emergency order seriously. Prime Minister Minnis says that a stricter curfew must now be enforced to prevent the widespread of COVID-19.
A curfew is imposed every day for 24 hours, except as provided in the orders or may be approved by the Commissioner of Police. In an effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19, every person should remain confined to their place of residence, inclusive of their yard space, to avoid contact outside of their family, except A, essential workers who report to work. B, workers required to work under Order 5. C, for essential travel to doctors, grocery store, bank, pharmacy, or to refuel. Also, another exception for outdoor exercise, whether alone or together, with family members living under the same roof, not exceeding an hour and a half per day between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
The Prime Minister adding that essential workers will still be exempt from the 24-hour curfew. He added that every human establishment will also have to comply with orders as it relates to ensuring that persons are social distancing 6 feet apart.
Ensure that all customers and staff maintain physical distancing of no less than 6 feet in or outside their businesses. They must determine the number of persons that may be permitted in the establishment at any one time by permitting 1 person for every 30 square feet of store space. Within 24 hours of the commencement of this order, place distance markers 6 feet apart, indicating where each customer must stand at a checkout point. And within 24 hours of the commencement of this order, place distance markers 6 feet apart on the outside of the establishment.
Now, many residents have expressed concern regarding the porous borders of the country. Prime Minister Minnis announced several new orders to control who can enter the country, how, and why.
With immediate effect, except without prior written permission of the competent authority, all airports, including private airports and fixed base operations, shall be closed to incoming international flights carrying any visitor. All seaports shall be closed to regional and international seafaring and private boating. And no visitor shall be permitted to enter and disembark for any reason, including transmitting through the Bahamas. The restrictions do not apply to outgoing flights or ships, as the case may be, cargo flights or cargo ships, as the case may be, commercial courier flights, emergency medical flights, or emergency flights approved by the Civil Aviation Authority.
Now, over the weekend, following the announcement of Order Number 1, many persons seemed to ignore the orders of social distancing. To this end, the Prime Minister announced new orders regarding gatherings in the country.
The fish fry situated at Ava Key and other occasional markets throughout the Bahamas shall close. The Porter's Dock and every other dock throughout the Bahamas shall be closed to any commercial activity and sales of anything to the general public, including fish, conch, or any such catch. I wish to note that all public beaches shall be closed. Additionally, no person shall drive a vehicle or any public or private road for a purpose other than stated on Order 5 or 7 of the new order. The Royal Bahamas Police Force will have powers to stop any vehicle and inquire as to the purpose for which that vehicle is being utilized and to arrest anyone found in violation of this restriction.
The Prime Minister encouraged all Bahamians to do their part in the fight against the global pandemic and to continue to pray for this nation. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Megan. Well, in light of the emergency powers COVID-19 order now enforced across the Bahamas, the national flag carrier Bahamas Air will suspend service as of tomorrow, March 25th, until Tuesday, March 31st. However, the airline will operate a limited schedule of flights today, including the 7:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. flight from Nassau to Fort Lauderdale and the 11 a.m. flight from Nassau to Orlando. Passengers were also able to take the 11 a.m. flight from Nassau to Freeport, the 7 a.m. flight from Nassau to Marsh Harbor, the 12:40 flight from Nassau to Rock Sound Eleuthera, and the 9:15 a.m. flight from Nassau to Georgetown Exuma. Passengers are also reminded that change fees across all airfares will be waived through May 31st of this year. Now, the United States Embassy in Nassau releasing a statement last evening following the Prime Minister's address. And that statement reads, if you are a U.S. citizen in the Bahamas and you need to return to the United States, we urge you to leave now. Do not wait. Work with your airline to make travel arrangements while flights are still available on March 23rd at 7 p.m. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas announced additional measures in response to the global COVID-19 pandemic. These additional measures include closing all airports in the Bahamas to incoming international flights carrying visitors starting at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, March 24th, including private airports until March 31st, 2020. It also says that the embassy cannot predict if or for how long the Bahamian government may extend these orders. Flight information was also provided in the statement for persons traveling from Nassau. Now, the statement concluded by officials once again asking all citizens who need to return to the United States to depart now. And joining us live now in studio is a pharmacy technician, Nick Perchedu. He's been in the Bahamas for some 12 years, but he has grown up in Italy, where there are now over 64,000 cases of COVID-19, over 6,000 deaths. Thank you so much for being with us today. Firstly, Nick, your parents and your brother, they're still in Italy. What is that like for you right now?
Well, I'm kind of worried, of course, because, for how things are going right now, it would be crazy not to be. However, I know they are being pretty compliant to all the direction that has been given by the government. So my parents have been shut in basically for about 2 weeks right now. And likewise for my brother, which happens to live actually in the north, where some of the worst cases were reported. But so far so good right now. Once you comply with the directions, everything is going good.
Talk a little bit about some of the measures they're taking to protect themselves.
Well, the first thing is isolation, where every time you can afford not to be in public, that is absolutely mandatory to be done. If you have to go out, wear personal protection equipment at any given time, respect the social distance is a pretty serious thing. And really, once you accomplish these kind of things and you respect the time from one shopping trip to the next, basically, and you limit your everything, your activities to the strictly essential ones, you are good to go, basically. And that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Now, I know that you're keeping abreast of what's happening in Italy. When you see those images of the armored trucks taking away those bodies, what is it like for you knowing that your family is still in that country?
It is scary because I grew up basically, thinking about Italy as a strong country. And now really seeing this kind of things happening really makes you rethink it over and over again. And it really is a wake-up call. There's no safe place. Nobody is untouchable, and when you see things like that, you just pray that it's not going to happen anywhere else in the world, and that's basically it.
And you've been a part of the healthcare system in Italy for some time as well, so you're getting firsthand information as it relates to healthcare workers in that country. What are your friends in the health industry saying to you?
Well, we have over 5,000 COVID-19 positive healthcare providers throughout the country. That is an insane number. Most of those COVID-19 positive patients are in the island where I come from. I'm talking about strictly the healthcare providers because of a lack of PPEs right now, which is a heartbreaking thing. And knowing that my friends are there and they are living that hell right now, I could have been there myself if I still was working by the emergency room. It leaves you speechless, really.
And we've seen how COVID-19 has impacted doctors and nurses and these persons on the front line as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the problem is that when you are forced to get exposure to this virus and you don't have the proper equipment to protect yourself, you will end up contracting it. It doesn't matter if you're young at this point. It doesn't matter if your immune system is super strong. The more you get exposed, the more chances you're going to have to contract this virus. It is absolutely, it's almost mathematic, really. And that is exactly what happened to them. And of course, the lack of equipment hasn't helped in this particular.
And we've seen a lot of posts flying around saying that at this point, Italy cannot take on any new cases and these new patients will not be seen at the emergency room. Any truth to that based on what you understand?
I have not heard any official or unofficial, for that matter, report on this. What I can tell you is that they are pushing on the gas pedal really to emphasize more prevention so that, basically they can rebalance the situation while in transit, from point A to point B, really.
I'm sure you would have seen that post though where they would have said Italy's leader noted that they've lost control of the situation. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that specifically, but it's not hard to believe. Unfortunately, it is beyond any experience at this point. Nobody really in recent time has experienced anything like that, and right now people are starting to lose faith. I mean, still, there's no reason to stop fighting, but some people is really starting to get a little losing faith.
But you haven't lost anyone due to COVID-19 in Italy,
Absolutely
correct?
not. Luckily not.
That's good. I noticed that you came into the station today and you had on your mask. Now, we've seen some health officials, there is a debate whether or not you should wear these masks. Why are you wearing yours?
I did because I wasn't sure if I could respect the social distance while coming here, you know, and coming from work to here really. So what I did is I took my precaution, which is something that I do invite all the public, all not just Grand Bahamians, but Bahamians in total really to do. There is a lot of misinformation concerning PPEs. And some people say, you know what, it's not really worth to wear them. You know, you're still gonna get it, or you're still gonna touch your face or so. That is not the case. Those things are put in use for a specific reason. Now, there are different types, of course, and each one serves a different purpose. But virtually, if everybody were wearing a surgical mask, everybody would be, you know, we would be reducing drastically the potential of infection throughout the whole country.
What about gloves and cross-contamination? We see a lot of persons are wearing their gloves as well, but there is the risk of cross-contamination. What do you suggest?
Wearing gloves is a good practice once you have already down-packed those habits that consist of not touching your face in the first place, you know, all of those basic things. But if you wear gloves when you go to the food store or to the pharmacy and you touch any item that may have been contaminated by anybody really before you, and then while you go and dig in your purse for your wallet or do anything else, you know, grabbing the items from the bag, you still use the same gloves and you put the same things directly in the cupboard at home, it kind of defeats the purpose. Mm-hmm. You only should wear gloves when you know you're gonna be touching potentially contaminated surfaces. But then when you have to touch anything that pertains to your personal space, really you should remove them and, you know, wear them again if you have to do anything else.
Now, this question is for our director who is in studio today, Brando Stewart. He wears his gloves, mm-hmm. but he also sanitizes the gloves. Is this something that people should also practice when wearing gloves?
I cannot answer this specifically.
Okay.
This is kind of above my paycheck. Okay. I'm sure there are some benefits, but whenever you can, you know, wash your hands and change your personal protection equipment is absolutely the better option if available.
Going back to Italy, though, we see where the Prime Minister would have implemented a 24-hour curfew here in the Bahamas. What is their curfew like?
It's basically exactly like that, with no exception so far, even for fitness purposes. For example, if they catch you out jogging or doing anything like that, that's it. Basically. What
is the penalty?
I believe the latest one was up to 4,000 euros, which amount to about $4,500 probably. I'm not sure about the getting detained for it. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are some measures as to that, but I'm not 100% sure. It is a strict curfew. Not everybody is respecting it, which is why even a country such as Italy, with the third or second healthcare system in the world, is collapsing.
Wow. I want you to speak to Bahamians who may not be taking COVID-19 seriously. You're paying attention to what is happening in Italy. We've been so blessed and so fortunate at this point where we've only confirmed 4 cases so far. Talk about the importance of Bahamians taking this seriously.
Absolutely. Right now Italy is basically on the showcase for what is going on. If anything even remotely close to that would happen to this country, mm-hmm. It would be absolutely devastating. Mm-hmm. We Grand Bahamians and Abaconians have seen what a sudden disaster can bring to the islands. When Dorian was here. Do we need anything like that right now? Absolutely not. And there is no such thing as being too cautious at the moment. Whatever news you may hear from third parties who say, trying to kind of downgrade and say, this is not going to be as bad. I was one of the non-believers myself at mm-hmm. first. I say, it's going to be a flu, just a flu. But then I saw. Mm-hmm. And knowing how the healthcare system works over there and knowing how the healthcare system works over here, and especially in Grand Bahama,
Right.
I would take every precaution to make sure that nothing like this happens. Please take it seriously. This is no joke. And the cases go from 1 to 30 to 60 all in once.
Well, thank you so much, Nick, for taking time out, for being with us today. Our prayers are definitely with your parents, with your brother, and of course, our prayers are with Italy. Thank you so much for being with us today. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
The Ministry of Health is working to ensure the safety of the Bahamian people. Help us minimize the risk that coronavirus poses to citizens, residents, and visitors by following these 5 easy steps. Step 1. Wet your hands with clean water, apply soap and lather for 20 seconds by rubbing them together. Include the top of your hands between your fingers and under your fingernails. Rinse your hands under clean water, then dry them with a paper towel or air dry them. Remember to wash your hands before and after eating, preparing a meal, changing a diaper, or caring for the sick, and always after using the bathroom, touching money, shaking hands, or taking out the trash. Step 2. Cough and sneeze in your elbow or upper sleeve, not in your hands, not in the air. Or you can cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Put your used tissue in the trash bin when you are finished. Remember to wash your hands with soap and clean water after you cough or sneeze. Also, remember never to spit on the ground, roads, or in open spaces. Step 3. Ensure that raw meat is properly handled and cooked thoroughly. Step 4. Avoid sharing drinking glasses, eating utensils like spoons and forks, or sharing personal items such as toothbrushes and towels. Germs can live on surfaces we touch, so wipe and disinfect surfaces where germs can live, and keep your surroundings clean. Step 5. Avoid close contact with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing. Should you or anyone you know feel that you have been exposed to the coronavirus, contact the surveillance unit of the Ministry of Health immediately. To reach us, call 502-4776, 502-4790, or 502-4737. We want Bahamians and those that live with and visit us to remain safe from the coronavirus. To do this, we need the help of each and every one of you to follow the simple steps we have shared. Let's stay safe, Bahamas.
Well, it was a mad scramble this morning for some residents as they set out to get essential items to sustain them during the new 24-hour lockdown. It would appear that panic is setting in as long lines could be seen outside of local stores. Our reporter, Italia Hall, and cameraman Quentin Gordon traversed the streets this morning. They were able to produce this next report, and as you are going to see, tempers are flaring.
Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, announcing additional emergency measures contained within a new and additional emergency order entitled Emergency Powers COVID-19 No. 2, Order 2020. Now, a curfew is imposed every day for 24 hours except for essential workers, services, or if approved by the Commissioner of Police. These new emergency powers and regulations will expire on March 31st at 9 a.m. These very strong measures are intended to save lives, protect the health of Bahamians, and to aggressively attack the spread of COVID-19. Now, when our ZNS News team visited Cartwright, residents could be seen lined up outside of the building. Most say they agree with the Prime Minister's decision.
Agree. This is the best thing you can do right now. Keep everything, make it almost isolated. So I think it's an excellent idea. Plus, furthermore, he is a doctor, so I think he would know best.
I think it's something that is needed, you know. I mean, to prevent the spread of this virus. You know, as they say, it's very contagious, so we have to do something. Us being a very small nation, you know, the effect could really be calamitous on everyone.
Necessary, it needs to be done. You know, I think the measures in place is just trying to keep us safe. You know, it's a lot of chatter on social media and on the internet about what could possibly be, what are conspiracies and things like that. Might be some truth to them, but you know, right now we just need to deal with the situation that's at hand.
Now, social distancing appears to be an issue across the country. During the national address, he noted that too many Bahamians are not taking this threat seriously, adding that it is important for Bahamians to not invite friends or family members over to their homes to socialize, hang out with friends, or have house parties. He says if persons do not heed the warnings, they can catch the virus. These residents say Bahamians must listen to the leaders of the country.
Have to learn the hard way because the government is only trying to protect them and they're not trying to protect themselves, so therefore, you know, whatever happens will happen to them.
On their health, they're risking others too.
Because look at Italy. Look at the United States that had 1,000 infected within 24 hours. That's a lot, especially for Grand Bahama. We done went through Dorian, and to have that here, and we have a lot of older folks.
Used to tell us hard head, but it don't make good soup. So they could feel like they spiting somebody or they, you know, they getting back at the man or the system or whatever. But I mean, if that's what you want to do you. But then don't get mad when you get sick. You know, because these will be the same people who want to call the hospital and call the doctor. Oh Lord, I coughing like this and that. Learn to stay behind home. You know, listen for once in your life.
Now over at Solomon's in Lucaya, the volume of persons on the outside was the same. The Prime Minister announced that supermarkets are encouraged to designate a specific shopping time for seniors from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. daily. But after 9 a.m., this senior citizen could be seen outside the store and says he was not allowed in.
I just came here and they said no senior line. And so what could I do?
Shortly after that interview, the senior citizens were allowed inside the store, but some confusion took place on the outside. An elderly man was pushed as he was trying to get inside the store.
Yeah, but the people, my brother. My man, what's the old man, bro? What you dealing with, bro? What you dealing with?
The Prime Minister, in his national address, admonished Bahamians to be people of generosity and gratitude, as this is not a time for a spirit of negativity. It's Halia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Well, the police also hauling a number of persons before the court yesterday and again today for violating the nightly curfew. As Jamila Mizik tells us, police are sending a strong message that this curfew must be adhered to.
Law enforcement officers on Grand Bahama working diligently to uphold the law, arresting several persons on the charge of violation of curfew since the nation's leader imposed a curfew to aid in the fight against the spread of COVID-19. Assistant Superintendent of Police and GB Press Liaison Tarsita Pinder.
The Royal Bahamas Police Force in Grand Bahama, we've been out in full force since the curfew was mandated by the Prime Minister of the Bahamas. To date, we've arrested so far 7 persons who were in violation of the curfew. We are mandated to protect our country, and that means protecting lives. So we will do whatever it takes to ensure that the curfew is adhered to.
She says those persons who still take a chance and break the curfew will be dealt with accordingly.
Well, this is a clear example, and that is why we call the press, to show the public that we are not sitting back. We are going out in full force and enforcing the laws. This curfew will save lives. This is not a police problem. This is the problem of the country. It affects us all. So we have to maintain law and order. We have to maintain the curfew. It's up to all of us, not just the police force. The public has to take a part in this, take a role in this, and we all have to take it seriously.
ASP Pender is also making this appeal to younger persons to take heed to the warnings and orders set in place.
The curfew is for you also. You are just as able to get sick as anybody else. We're pleading with the younger persons who are traversing the streets unnecessarily, persons who are gathering on the beaches, persons who are gathering together at night. Please refrain from this. Follow the mandate set. Protect yourselves, protect your home, protect our country.
Now, persons in breach of the order may face fines not exceeding $10,000, up to 18 months imprisonment, or both. On a positive note, ASP Pender says that the RBPF has seen a decrease in crime since the curfew has been imposed. Jamila Missick, ZNS Network News.
Well, Superintendent of Police Wendell Clark is back with us this afternoon, and we would imagine the message is this is not the time to be out on the streets.
Yes, it is not the time to be on the streets. Yesterday I said to you that we will intensify what we are doing. And certainly last night we have done that. We arrested 4 men last night. They were placed before the court, as we have seen. What the outcome of their cases at this time, I am not aware, but that will come to you soon. We also went to a restaurant and bar, and we warned the owner there that restaurant and bar must be shut. And the only food places that are allowed at this time are drive-thrus, and those persons who have take-away licenses, and not the restaurants and bars. And that is because even if you allow them to only run the food part, once your back turned, they will then serve their ware. So we are saying to all of the restaurants and bar, as per the order that we have, that you must remain closed until this lifts.
Now, as you would have seen in the story earlier, our Italia Hall and Quentin Gordon, they were on the beat this morning, and they witnessed something that angered most of the persons when we watched that video this morning who work here. Our employees, we were infuriated. We saw where a young man became extremely aggressive and verbally abusive to our staff, and even worse, he assaulted an older man who was in that line, and this was around 9 to 11. So that older gentleman, he was supposed to be in that line. What is being done now to ensure that police presence is seen at these local food stores where we see that panic has escalated?
Yes. Right now, I will appeal to persons out there: do not rush the stores. Take your time. Form a line. What the order now says is that the food stores themselves, they must set markers, and we will go to the food stores and we will see to it that as best as they can set that 6 feet mark for each person who is outside the store, who waits their turn. I will ask you to be patient. I understand that the food supply here is enough for us,
right?
And I understand that the ships with the food supply, they are still back and forth. So there's no need for us to go in a panic mode. Secondly, if anything happens to you on any line, you can dial 911 or 919, and a patrol car will come to assist.
Right.
But what will happen from now on is that we will have to post a policeman at the food store in light of what took place.
Right.
So that we can try to curtail this type thing.
And I think what was so disgraceful was the fact that he attacked
Yes, ma'am.
A senior citizen.
Yes. Well, what the order says now, and this is the new one. This is order 2.
As of last night.
It allows the food stores to go from 6 a.m. And it says that from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. is for
to 2 p.m.
Elderly. No, 2 hours.
Well,
2 hours.
6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Okay.
Yes. The first 2 is dedicated to those type people, the elderly people, and those who have to work nights, like the press and the police. So we hope that the food stores will adhere to this. And call us in if it reaches a point where you have too many persons online. And what the food stores themselves ought to do is to limit how many marks they have. And that will help to curtail this. And then they can probably tell some people that you can come back at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
Now, we know that there,
as the case may be,
a special line has been designated, 311, for persons who need to call for information. Let's talk a little bit about the 311 number.
We have a 311 number you can call, and that is the same number as the 350-3082 or 350-3083. You can also email us at COVID, that's COVID 19GB at rbpf.bs. Any concern you have, query, you can call us or you can send us a number email, and we will be sure to respond to you.
Now, I don't want you to say any concern, because yesterday you mentioned that people who were stuck at some places where they were not supposed to be, girlfriends stuck at whatever house, yes, and whatever, they were calling and asking for police escorts.
Yes.
They are not allowed to call that number.
They are not allowed to call, and they are not allowed to even email us for that purpose. But I would say some people have concerns, and we are here. Those numbers, we operate around the clock. There are persons there who knows what to do and what advice to give. So feel free to call. We are here to serve. I made a check of the beaches, and I understand that they are now cleared. And it seems as if since last night to the day, people are really getting a gist of it.
Right.
And they are really beginning to adhere even more.
But now that we're on
curfew.
Now that we're on the 24-hour curfew, I noticed that a lot of cars were still on the road today.
Yes.
Have you witnessed that, or
yes?
No?
Yes. I have. But the whole thing about this curfew is that you are still allowed to go to the banks, to your doctor, to your pharmacist, to fuel. You are still allowed to go to the food stores.
So does it make it kind of difficult to regulate?
It doesn't, because we can simply stop you and ask you where you are going. Well, of course, persons may tell you a lie, but of course you can follow them if you wish to, or you can go. I went in the bank today, and a bank here, and there was no one in the bank. So I think for those of you who have to really bank now, this is a good time while the lines are very short. But of course, we ask people to help us and to not make our jobs difficult, because we don't have that much people. We are too stretched, because we have to man this thing 24 hours a day. And if you make it difficult for us, it makes it difficult for us all.
One concern was that someone said to me was, well, we don't see the police on the road. I said, you may not see them or you may not recognize them, but they're there, because when we patrolled Sunday night, we noticed that there were unmarked vehicles placed strategically to ensure that people were adhering to this curfew.
Yes. You may see the marked ones at the roundabouts, at the red lights.
That's what we saw.
But of course, we realized that people seeing us there, they may try to go through the back street. So we have cars and manpower on those back strips. We also have a mobile patrol that goes on. And once we find you and you're in breach, you will be arrested. We have seen what took place. Persons were fined, hefty fines, and someone they were sent up to Foxhill for 1 year. So the risk you take is at your own risk.
I'm not sure if you're able to speak to this or not, but we would have seen where one person would have gotten a fine for a couple $100, another person $1,000, and the last person that I would have seen, based on the police report, was 1 year in jail. Any reason why the fines and the jail time, what would be the category for what you receive? I'm sure it just comes from the magistrate or the judge, but any idea how these fines are levied?
That is up to the discretion of the courts. Of course, you may have persons who may have been to a court over and over. They are of that ilk, and the court may not see them in the light as they see someone who appears for the first time.
Right.
So that could be one of the balancing factors. Yes.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Superintendent Clark, for being with us again. Yesterday you said warning time is up. You're becoming more aggressive and beefing up these patrols.
Yes.
That remains.
Yes, we are. And I would like to say to you that my health and our health depends on your health. So it is important that you remain indoors or in your yard space as best and as much as you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us. A National Day of Prayer, that's what the Prime Minister is calling for. And we have local pastor Cedric Beckles. He'll be in studio with us next. Stay with us. There's more on the other side of the break. Monitor the coronavirus COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic wreaking havoc on lives and economies across the world. So what should residents be doing right now?
Pay attention to the guidelines and the advice that's being put out by healthcare professionals.
What is preparation like for you before seeing someone who is presenting?
This crisis began in China, and that's significant.
China had their first case. That's when we started to prepare because we knew it would be here soon.
The Ministry of Health is working to ensure the safety of the Bahamian people. Help us minimize the risk that coronavirus poses to citizens, residents, and visitors by following these 5 easy steps. Step 1. Wet your hands with clean water, apply soap and lather for 20 seconds by rubbing them together. Include the top of your hands between your fingers and under your fingernails. Rinse your hands under clean water, then dry them with a paper towel or air dry them. Remember to wash your hands before and after eating, preparing a meal, changing a diaper, or caring for the sick, and always after using the bathroom, touching money, shaking hands, or taking out the trash. Step 2. Cough and sneeze in your elbow or upper sleeve, not in your hands, not in the air. Or you can cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Put your used tissue in the trash bin when you are finished. Remember to wash your hands with soap and clean water after you cough or sneeze. Also, remember never to spit on the ground, roads, or in open spaces. Step 3. Ensure that raw meat is properly handled and cooked thoroughly. Step 4. Avoid sharing drinking glasses, eating utensils like spoons and forks, or sharing personal items such as toothbrushes and towels. Germs can live on surfaces we touch, so wipe and disinfect surfaces where germs can live, and keep your surroundings clean. Step 5. Avoid close contact with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing. Should you or anyone you know feel that you have been exposed to the coronavirus, contact the surveillance unit of the Ministry of Health immediately. To reach us, call 502-4776, 502-4790, or 502-4737. We want Bahamians and those that live with and visit us to remain safe from the coronavirus. To do this, we need the help of each and every one of you to follow the simple steps we have shared. Let's stay safe, Bahamas.
Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, announcing that this Wednesday, tomorrow, March 25th, will be recognized as a National Day of Prayer and Fasting. The nation's leader asking Bahamians and residents to pray for him as he tries to navigate the country through this COVID-19 pandemic. He is also requesting prayers for the country and for those who are on the front line of this battle. Knows a whole lot about prayers. Pastor Cedric Beckles joins us live now. If there was ever a time we needed prayer, that time is now. Pastor Beckles, what do you say?
Yes, but it's interesting that the Prime Minister asked the nation to pray for him at this time, that should be a daily request by every leader that we have. The extreme times call for extreme measures, but in those calm moments, the nation's leader, all of our nation's leaders should request the church to pray for them daily. The Bible commands us to pray for our leaders so that we would be able to lead a quiet and peaceable life. So what it is that a situation is forcing the Prime Minister to adhere to what the Scripture has already commanded us to do. So we're fully in favor of that.
What should churches be doing at this time? Since we started this show last week and even yesterday, it was a question that I've posed to many church leaders. At this time, it seems as if there is some division where some persons believe that we should continue with church services. This is the time for it. There are other church leaders who believe that we should be fearful. Not fearful, but careful. That came from Pastor Kyle Maycock. And at this point in time, because of what we're facing with this COVID-19, we should cease church as it relates to the building, but still find creative means to get the message out. What do you think should be happening now?
I believe this is a perfect opportunity for the church to demonstrate that we can accommodate the request of our leaders and still accomplish the mandate that God has given us. There are ways that we can meet that will minimize the spread of the COVID-19 without us totally abandoning our call for assembly. We could take advantage of the technology that exists today. We could meet in smaller groups. So I believe it's a perfect time for us as a church to show that yes, there is a way to blend the mandate from our ultimate authority, which is God, in keeping with the mandate of the nation in light of our situation.
Did you have service on Sunday?
No, we used technology and I communicated via our live stream.
But there are some leaders who believe that it is time to congregate and continue with church services. Do you find that these persons are being rebellious to the law? What is your position on that?
Well, you know, I specifically put a question to the Prime Minister's office on Thursday. And my question was, if we meet, will we be in violation of the law? And the answer I was given was, it is not specifically mentioned in the act about church services. That was the answer I received. So I am assuming then it's left to us to interpret that. So the reason we chose not to meet was, which I thought was reasonable, if one person who is diagnosed with the COVID-19 could trace that they attended our church service, and everyone who was in that building would then, and all of their families would be put into quarantine, and I did not see where that would have been the wisest thing to do at the time. But yet we were able to communicate with all of our people through the technology that exists today.
There is a scripture that I would have read to a church leader yesterday, and I'm going to read it again to you because I would want your interpretation of this scripture. There's a post going around where it says, quarantine is in the Bible, Isaiah 26 verses 20. Go home, my people, and lock your doors. Hide yourselves for a little while until the Lord's anger has passed. Some leaders are saying that this is proof that the Lord may be angry at this time. How do you interpret that scripture?
I am careful not to lift scripture out of context. I would have to read the rest of the surrounding verses. I would prefer to make reference to what the Lord said in the book of Leviticus. First of all, the Lord declared that He is the God who heals. He's the healer. We fully embrace that. Yet the same God who said He is the healer has also said if a person contracted leprosy, they're to be isolated. So in the context of the God that we serve, there is room for healing and there is room for isolation and quarantine. So it's clearly depicted in the scriptures. So I don't see where there is a contradiction in the two for those of us in the faith. Just because we choose to isolate does not mean we don't have any faith. On the other hand, we can't be foolish either. So I don't see I don't see tension between going in quarantine and it being a sign of a lack of faith. I don't see that.
How important is it for the church to be united at this time?
I think what we're united on is that God is in control. I believe that that's where we are united. Now, how we play that out may be different. So I think in that context, we're on one page. I think in the context of the fact that we know that God is ultimately the one who is going to run the show, I think we're on the same page there. I think we're on the same page where we do know that the world now, their knees are bowed. The knees are bowed.
Yes.
This is the first time in our history where everyone in the world is bowed down to a microscopic entity. This is not a nation with military power causing us to bow. So we believe, the church now realizes that God is sending a message. So in those areas, I think we're united, and I believe that's as much as the unity we're going to get, and I think that is sufficient for us to navigate safely through this.
And some people say that this is a spiritual battle. Some people believe that God is using this pandemic to speak to us. Spiritually, how do you interpret COVID-19, if you interpret it spiritually at all?
Well, what I would say is this. Every situation we face, whether individually, as families, communities, nations, the world, I believe that there is something in that for us to have an introspection. This is no exception. And the question that I believe that we need to ask at this time is, whatever my epicenter is, whatever my core existing belief is it epicenter to navigate me through COVID-19 and all of the fallouts of COVID-19? So for some people, the epicenter is their money, their education, their connections, their resources. But my thing is, God, every situation we encounter should force us to examine ourselves in light of what is my epicenter and can it pull me through the situation we are in? And sitting from where I sit, of course, I'm not a medical professional, it seems like nothing could pull us through this within the sphere of our own human development and advancement over the last 100 years. So we then have to go to something greater than us. And the only thing from the Christian point of view that's greater than the science, greater than the mindset, greater than the money, greater than the medicine is God. So I think we have a golden opportunity now to examine it. So I don't even like to get into the debate of is it of God, isn't of God. I do know one thing, it's here, and we all need to examine ourselves to see exactly where we are in the context of what we know the God of the Bible to say.
And I would be remiss if I allow you to leave without speaking some hope and some words of encouragement into our people today. So for the next 2 minutes, take some time and speak to this fear. We know God has not given us a spirit of fear, and it seems as if people are panicked and not sure what this means and how long it will affect us, how it will affect our economy. Speak some words of hope into our people today.
Well, first of all, I believe that a certain amount of fear is healthy. Fear causes us not to walk down the street where the dog is.
Yeah.
So I believe that a certain amount of fear in the context of wisdom is necessary. I believe too that we have to come to the grips of, have I done all that I could do? And if I've done all that I could do, social distancing, honoring the laws of the land in the context of the order that we're under, the medical advice given to us, once we've gone to that scope, we have done what I would refer to as the human part of it. And then after that, we have to trust the God that we serve. Now I say the God that we serve, not the God who has been called in because COVID-19 showed up, but the God that I was serving before COVID-19 showed up. And I believe that God has a way of navigating us through. And then I always say to people, let's not freak out over what we cannot change. I cannot change COVID-19. I can't do that. But I do believe that I have done within my sphere what I'm responsible for. And then I quote what Psalm 127, I think, says, except the Lord keep the city, they that watch it in vain. And it does not matter. I'm of the believe that the medical world is doing what it's supposed to do, the government is doing what it's supposed to do, but I also believe that unless the Lord puts a barrier to COVID-19, no one can stop it. And so I want to encourage people to truly believe the God that we serve. Believe that He is not asleep. And I told somebody the other day, COVID-19 didn't invade God's day. Rather, God was here before COVID-19. He is here during COVID-19, and He's going to be here long after COVID-19. And so we just need to have that kind of confidence in the God that we serve in a real way.
Thank you so much, Pastor Beckles. And that is our show for today. Once again, we implore you to heed the advice of medical officials. Stay away from those large gatherings. Stay in your home. Do not invite friends or family members over. Stay off the streets. The police officials are enforcing the curfew, and if you violate that curfew, you can find yourself in trouble. Wash your hands regularly, use hand sanitizers, other simple common sense measures as well. And so until tomorrow, we thank you for joining us. I'm Shashina Wolf-Farquharson. Stay safe.